I got an 11.5 million reasons why you should listen to the Leafs Cast today. The Leafs Cast is back now. Wait, I pushed the wrong one.
Oh, and he got it away in a hurry.
It's a Willy one this
Made
week.
a good save. Great opportunity for Richie.
Listen, they're next to each other on the thing.
That's more like it. Let's get something on brand.
I think Nylander scored about 80 goals since that one happened.
I need a new one, too. It always puts him in a bad mood whenever Nick Ritchie's name is mentioned early in the pod, and Ryan, and me, I guess. But
some PTSD.
Welcome back.
It's been a while.
Lots to talk about, too, right? Lots to talk about. Jeez.
You know, the last time that we potted, Steven, you drilled Tim and I with an incredibly difficult World Juniors quiz, and Team Canada didn't really live up to the expectations that you had for them. Were you pretty disappointed watching the boys fall flat?
That was a bummer. I think they were saying like it's the first time Team Canada's been out in the semis in like 20 years or something like that. So, I mean, I watched all the games and pretty much all the other teams as well. I didn't have tons of hope after the round robins that Canada was actually going to go all the way. But I mean, most of our listeners are Canadian, so you're like preaching to the choir here. But everybody else can take a lap talking about how Canada's no longer the best country at hockey when their like best 5 players are just already in the NHL. So we'll settle down here, okay? Congrats to the USA and Sweden and poor Norway. I think they got relegated. That's the end of the tournament for me. Looking forward to next year.
Looking forward to next year. Looking forward to see Fraser Minton wearing a blue maple leaf on his chest. But, guys, that's not the maple leaf that people are tuning in to listen about. William Nylander, 8 more years. $92 million. Biggest contract in Maple Leaf history by total dollar value is going to William Nylander.
It's crazy.
What was your initial thoughts when you guys heard the deal?
Honestly, the first thought that I had was, as soon as I heard there was $92 million for Nylander, I'm thinking like, man, we were getting ready to give Shohei Ohtani $600 million. So like, what the heck?
small potatoes compared
That's
to
the
Shohei.
first thing I was thinking of. No, you know what? Listen, there's a lot that you could think about the William Nylander deal. I'm sure we'll get into all the details of it, but the first thing you think of is just like, not a lot of teams in the NHL get a talent like William Nylander. This guy's on pace for, I think, around like 50 goals and 100 plus points right now in this season. And any team, all 32 of them, would love to have a talent like that on their team. And it's too bad that we live in this salary cap era, because any other time you just look at this and celebrate. We have an unbelievable talent, William Nylander, who's going to be here not only like we've enjoyed him for the past 7 years or whatever it's been, but like for the next 8 years, he's going to spend his whole career, his entire prime here as a Maple Leaf. He's going to be top of the charts. We're going to see him dancing around. It'll be very fun watching him do his thing.
He's been in our lives for so long, he might as well stick around. 8th overall pick in the 2014 draft. I saw a picture yesterday with him, Phil Kessel, and Dion Phaneuf on the ice together. That's how long he's been around. So you could say, just for kind of having to be a part of the team for so long, he deserves, I guess, this big of a contract. Yeah, we'll get into the details. I mean, you asked him, like, what did I think when I first saw it? I mean, my first reaction was, like, holy smokes. Like, $11.5 million, just because, like, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Austin Matthews essentially signed an $11.5 million contract, and that felt like the largest deal in NHL history. I'm still just not used to the idea that anybody signs for even close to that much money. But I guess, yeah, Ryan, you're right. Like, we heard with all the Shohei news that MLSE has the most money to spend on these guys, and Willy said, oh, well, let's try to get some extra millions out of them or something, because $11.5 million is nuts.
It's nuts. It's more than David Pastrnak, who signed at 11 and a quarter, less than Panarin, but that's pretty well lit as far as centers. He's the 4th highest paid player in the NHL. That's crazy. But more importantly, he has a no move clause for all 8 years. So no more William Nylander trade speculation.
I don't know, Tim. I think that we'll still drop a few of those nuggets in here.
What, for Parayko?
Yeah, that's right.
Hang on. Okay, I have a couple questions about the pod.
I'm pretty
but
sure
you
it
all
was
have
like
to give.
Nylander for Nick Ritchie. Those were the original ones.
That's what I was gonna say. Okay, so that's yours. Nylander for Nick Ritchie. Give me another one. Another wacky deal that you were hearing rumored.
Chris Tana was a Maple Leaf about 10 times over with Nylander going the other way.
Nylander was going there. Oh man, there's got to be another one.
Brendan Montour from Buffalo.
Like, there were
goes on and on.
There were
I've
more
probably
trade
said a bad
proposals. There were more trade proposals that had Nylander in them than not. Like everyone had Nylander, and now it's done. He's here.
Maple Leaf.
Nick Ritchie's the worst one. That's the worst one. Like every time you're ever watching the Leafs and it's like some guy's not sticking in the top 6 or whatever, it's like, well, at least they're better than Nick Ritchie was. They're at least better than Nick Ritchie was. And he just got like a 10-game suspension in some KHL league or wherever he's playing. Okay, I have a couple of questions about this Nylander contract that I want to go over with you guys and just get your feelings about it and how the team plays into it and the league and you guys as men. But yeah, like Tim said, it's 8 years, $11.5 million, $92 million total. It's the largest contract in Maple Leafs history. Essentially makes him the highest paid winger in the league. And it's kind of a new world order for if wingers are getting paid this much or all of that. So, okay, question number 1. Is this contract good for the Leafs' future and just the Leafs in general? So, starting from right now, well, I mean, you know, I guess next year once it kicks in, but just like in 8 years, we're going to be happy this deal was done. Go.
Do we have a Stanley Cup at the end of these 8 years?
Well, it does this.
We're Leaf fans, Steven.
That's
Rule one
good
is we
for the
are
Leafs,
never
though.
happy.
So is the ultimate goal, which is Lord Stanley's Cup, is this contract going to help the Leafs get there? Meaning it would be good.
What do you think, Tim?
I think so. I think it does get us closer to a cup in the near term. Is Willy Nylander going to be an $11 million player at age 35? It is kind of funny. We talk about the 8 years, and on one hand, it's like, oh, it's great to have him here for the whole career. But this is a case where like Leafs probably didn't want quite as many years. That almost, I guess, it takes down what you think the theoretical cap hit is. But 11.5, it didn't come down too much. But in the short term, and like if we're gonna call the Austin Matthews next current contract of next 4 years is their prime window, I think it does get us closer in those 4 years. You look at the UFA market, like who else is going to be available this summer that the money would go towards? Not good list. So obviously the money's going to be hard next year with Tavares still making 11 before coming off the books, but I think Nylander makes the team better. Is this a championship team with William Nylander? I still don't know that, but like I think overall it's good. I like that he's a member of the Leafs.
What do you think, Steven?
So he's the highest paid winger in the league, right? And Tim,
well, Panarin's more second highest paid.
Oh, what's Panarin? What did the Rangers sign Panarin to?
11.6.
He deserves every penny. That guy's so good.
Well, Willie only cares about being paid slightly more than Pasternak. That's pretty much it.
The same. Yeah.
I'm going to be maybe controversial. I'm going to lean a little bit towards no. I don't think that, and I hate getting into the dollars because like I love William Nylander and I'm really happy that he's a Maple Leaf and like I hope this contract doesn't stress us out and the cap just keeps going up. But I'm gonna err on the side of caution and just assume that the cap's not going to just continue rising because it's not like the NHL's not cooking like it maybe should be. So anyway, but I look at like William Nylander, who he's having a great season, his best season ever, and this is also a time where he's the most motivated ever to play the best ever, to get paid the most ever. I mean, like we've all seen almost more than anybody else in the Maple Leafs. When we talk about a poor game or a good game, you look at the effort that the guys put out there, and that determines the outcome of the game. And Willie is a prime guy where, like, when he's motivated and he's playing really great, and we're talking about him on the Maple Leafs, and when he is a sad sack on the ice and he's just out there for a skate, the Leafs lose, and we're talking about that on the Leafs cast. And I think this year he's been uber motivated to make a ton of money because he knew he knew the situation that he was in and the leverage that he had, where he was either going to get paid pretty much as much as he wanted by the Maple Leafs, or he was going to go to free agency and get paid as much as he could by a different team. So I think a contract of this similar level was coming from somewhere, and I think that Willie knew that. And $11.5 million is insane. Like, when we're talking about, what'd you say, Tim? He's the third highest paid player in the league, or fourth?
He's fifth, actually.
Okay.
McKinnon at 12.6, McDavid at 12.5, Panarin
So,
11.6,
he's fifth.
11.6.
Before this season, I'm not sure how many people would have put William Nylander in the top 50 players in the NHL, and he's now the fifth highest paid player in the NHL. Now that's changed, but I'm just saying that, like, all the data we've had, all the, him on the team with Dion Phaneuf and Phil Kessel, all those years of data, he was, I think, still not consensus ranked as a top 50 guy in the NHL, and now he's the fifth highest paid. That's pretty nuts.
Pretty nuts.
If anything, I honestly, I kind of go back and forth. Part of me wants to say, like, part of me just wants to say, you know what? You look back at teams who win all of it, and they often will do it on the backs of star players. You look as recently as last year, and how good Marchessault and Stone were for Vegas, and all the Stanley Cups, or at least brought them to that point that, like, Kucherov and Point did for Tampa. Like, you need star players to deliver in the playoffs. And when you get a star player like Nylander, who clearly is one at this point, especially this season, is playing like it, you don't want to lose them. Like, they're hard to get. Like I said earlier, there's tons of teams that are chomping at the bit, desperate for a player like William Nylander, and they can't get them. And we have like 3 of them on our team right now, arguably 4 if you want to include the captain. So it's... Is this good for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Absolutely, because it's not easy to get a talent like William Nylander. $11.5 million is the most ridiculous number, though. All that happened here was Brad said, "I give up." That's how the negotiation went. This is no negotiation. There's no way. I meant to do the math before hopping on here, actually. But what's the equivalent number value that another team would have had to give over 7 years? Because that's so much.
Yeah.
Term they could give Nylander to also get to $92 million. Tim, you're an accountant. What's that number?
13.142.
There's no way at all that another team was going to offer Nylander $13.12 million. Right? There's no way. So, like, this, in my opinion, is a solid at least $1 million over what he should have got paid, and probably 1.5 to $2 million over what the Leafs should have ended up paying him, because that's just ridiculous. And you take it one step further, he's like been a career 35 goal guy. Last year he had a breakout season where he finally hit 40. He's played 30 games, which has elevated him to be projected to hit 50, and then all of a sudden we're just going to pay him like he's a 50 goal player over the next 8 years? That's ridiculous. Like, is it not more likely that he's probably going to come back down and be like a 40-goal player, which should have been at like 10-5? Now, you say all that, but are you really going to walk away from William Nylander because of like $1 million over every year? $1 million is nothing. You could like make a mistake signing
Ryan Reeves,
exactly, or John Klingberg, right? Like, you can make up $1 million so easily by just not making stupid decisions like that. But what it means is the margin for error has become so much smaller. Every time that we sign these big guys to another raise, and we're going to see it again with Mitch Marner next year or whatever, or maybe 2 years from now if he waits. But it's just like every time you make a mistake, you sign a Klingberg, you sign a Reeves, you sign a Samsonov, and these guys don't pan out. You feel it all the more. And our reserve of league minimum guys like Nyes and Robertson, we're depleting them because we keep trading them away every year. So I think that we're probably going to enjoy William Nylander the next 3 years, maybe. And after that, I think I don't think we're going to like this deal very much.
Well,
I think
go ahead.
So it's definitely an overpay, and like you say, like, what does he have? Like, he has no hardware, like no awards, like.
He's not an all-star right now.
He's not an all-star right now.
He's the fifth highest paid player in the NHL. He'll probably end up going because of the voting. like the secondary voting, but
Yeah, the Swedes will vote him in, but I think so. I do think like this is I fail. I mean, on one hand, I say a failure on Brad just because I feel like anyone could have just given away $92 million, but there is something to be said for like the fact that he does want to stay in Toronto.
Of course he wants to stay in Toronto. We just give out the money. We just roll out the carpet for these guys, Tim. Like, everyone's going to be chomping at the bit to come to Toronto. We're so bad at negotiating. We just gave him everything. We paid him everything. We gave him full no move, no trade, a huge signing bonus.
Yeah. The one piece I do want to point out as far as Nylander may be like, oh, is he a 40-goal guy? Is he a 30-goal guy? What is important is he's a point-per-game player in the playoffs. How many guys do we have like that? Any?
I don't know.
Not enough.
He does.
Him and
he
Riley,
does.
they're the best.
Yeah.
He does do that every year, and
how many goals does he have in Game 7s? He only gets them when we have the goalie pulled and we get one, but not enough. That's what Nylander.
Yeah, the stats are inflated there. But
when you think about the goals, though, that you remember that the Maple Leafs have scored in the playoffs, who's scoring them? Like, you think of playoff goals, and a couple of them come to mind.
Who was the trade deadline pickup that scored the double overtime winner from Kapanen in 2017 against Washington?
Jeez, Tim, I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
that's
what?
the guy I remember.
You don't know his name? What do you mean? That's the guy
No,
you
I know, but I remember he was the guy, and it's like he was worth it.
Trade
Anyways.
deadline pickup in 2017.
I think so.
Is that Placanet? But
No.
he wasn't playing that high in the lineup. I think of Austin Matthews. I just think of like him scoring a couple of big goals against Boston. It's always Boston too. I think of playoff goals. I think of Boston. I don't remember any of the other series. A guy like William Nylander, because he has delivered in those moments, and like it's not
Brian Boyle. That was who it was.
All right, continue, Steven.
all 6'7" of Brian Boyle had a double overtime winner against Boston.
No, I think it was captain of the double overtime winner, but he played with Boyle.
Okay. Oh man. Okay, I guess so. We've gotten into the negotiation a little bit, but like, yeah. Could you have seen, like, because we talk about Brad, and like Brad Treliving's been the Maple Leafs GM now since the summer, and he's made a handful of signings, and it's just kind of crazy because I feel like we used to, when Dubas would make these deals, we'd be like, oh, okay, any other GM in the league could have done this differently, and it doesn't seem like Brad can. So are we crazy, or what's going on here? Like, why is it that all these guys are signing for the largest contract of any, in their position?
Well, it doesn't make any sense. He took a risk that Nylander was going to suck this year and say, you know what, I'm not paying you we don't know what he's asking for. We're not paying you $10 million. We want to pay you $9.5. And Nylander said, fine, I'll show you what I could do. And Nylander has the best season ever. And now he's saying, I want 11, I want 11.5, whatever. But what doesn't make sense, like, there's no way the number was going up more, right? Like, even if Nylander continued on this crazy heater pace and he had 50 goals and 105 or 110 points, whatever, what are we going to say? Fine, Nylander, take 12. I wish we got this deal done on January 9th. Like, no, there's no way the deal was going to get worse than it already is. So why are we signing now? I swear, Treliving just said, I give up. Just take the money. That's the negotiation.
I think the deal got done now because the trade deadline is coming up. And Brad was not going to... I don't think Brad was going to lose William Nylander for nothing. I don't know a situation where this has happened in the past, but I think if they got the sense that he was not going to sign after the season was done or the playoffs were done, they were going to lose him for nothing, and I think they were going to trade him. I think that's why
he was always going to sign for $92 million, though. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like they maybe wanted some certainty in there. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a respect thing. They get him in there, like just managing players' egos, and that is a dollar value. But I do think there's an element of like, the Leafs, somewhere management of the Leafs, they want to pay the players fairly. Like,
no,
for better, like
what?
I
No, what are you talking about?
I think that they value it. I don't say it's like not. Obviously, they're not doing shrewd business with these deals they give out. But like, if you look at their payments that they make, they do outperform these contracts. Even Tavares' money, like he's probably worth the deals.
What?
And so, is it worth anything on the ice? I don't know. Is it like overpaying them compared to being like saving dollars and cents? It is. But like you look at these guys, like, is William Nylander going to provide more than $11.5 million of value? Likely. Like the way the NHL works is where they like the star players provide excess value to what money they actually get.
Yeah.
But like, do you have to pay it? No.
Okay, wait. Hold on. You said several things there that I disagree with.
I know you're making faces at me.
You say like what management is saying. You know what? I think that we would like to have Nylander at a lesser cap hit because undisputedly that helps our team. We can get better players. However, we want to be good people, so we're going to give him more money because Nylander needs a nicer boat. Is that what you're saying?
No, he's saying like it's what the money says. They say we want our players to want to play in Toronto, not be disgruntled. Maybe they see it as like, oh, this is the way the league is moving towards paying star players, and so they say like, rather than cut them, like, looking at what Kyle Dubas did, and they nickel and dimed him, he lost half a season, he's unhappy. Maybe they aren't as stingy or giving out these contracts to these players, and maybe that's what causes the players to stick around. I don't know.
Well, on Tim's side of this, I guess, you look at John Tavares, who came to Toronto after signing, I think it was like a 7-year, $5.5 million deal in Long Island because they were like, we're going to get good players around you, we're going to win a bunch of Stanley Cups, and neither of those things happened. John Tavares is like, well, these guys don't know what they're doing, I'm out of here. I guess I can see what you mean, but then when you say the fair value, why is it like then every other player in the league is underpaid? Because
they are underpaid. Like McDavid should be making 20.
It's tough though. I know what you're talking about. Those like things online that are like, here's the actual value that these guys are showing. But like, I feel like I don't know if you built a team based on all these guys. Like, where's the money for the third line? Because we still don't have like a third line and a fourth line we're happy with.
I disagree, Tim, that McDavid should be paid 20. This isn't basketball where you bring in two players who are the best two players in the league, and then all of a sudden you're going to win the championship, and who cares who the other... I don't even know how many people are on the court in basketball. 5? How the other 5 people are. Like, whatever.
Ice hockey is completely different than basketball.
It's completely... You could see it right now with Toronto and Edmonton. Those are perfect examples where you have these top-heavy teams and you're paying your stars so much money. The Leafs are going to have like 4 of the top like 6 highly paid players on their roster next year. It's ridiculous. And we have nothing else for the rest of the lineup. We're going to have a third and fourth line of like league minimum players. We have like 1 good defenseman. We have no goalies. Tim.
Whoa.
Joseph
Wall's on 1 leg.
Martin Jones.
Listen, I think...
He's the future, Ryan. He's going to win the Vezina.
You can see it with every time a team wins the Stanley Cup. How many times are we like, man, but they were so deep down the middle, or like they had 6 quality NHL defensemen, or like they won on their 3rd goalie, or something. Like it's more than just like they had these high all-star players. Let's just give them the moon. You need a team to support them. You need depth scoring. You need good defensemen all the way down. Like, you need all these things. And no team is perfect. That's the nature of a salary cap error. But that doesn't mean that you could just say, we want to make sure William Nylander's happy and paid fair. $500,000. We need to pay him the second highest paid winger in the league because he had 1 good season. Well, that's ridiculous.
I'm not saying that was the smart move. I'm saying, like, obviously this is the 8th contract in a row where the Leafs have overpaid their players. David Kamp's still riding off into the sunset with his 4th line money. But so like, well, and that's like what you're saying though is the other side of the argument. Would you take? I mean, unrestricted free agency. Would you take 2 $4 million players, pay them both $6 million because that's what a UFA costs, instead of William Nylander? Would you rather have that than William Nylander in your team?
Right now, what does Morgan Riley make? $7 million?
Seven and a half.
$7.5 million. How great would it be to have another number one defenseman, but not even like a Riley-esque? Like, think prime Jake Muzzin defenseman to play on our D-core, and you get like another Tyler Bertuzzi on your team. Like, that would be great.
Well,
we would love that.
What Tim's getting at though is like I don't even know who that guy is. Like this is kind of the move they had to make because like free agency kind of just like isn't what it used to be, and I like there's no Pietrangelo coming into free agency this year that the Leafs can just sign to that deal.
There's always someone though. Like you saw just like 2 years ago, all of a sudden Monahan goes to Columbus. Like what the heck is that? Like. There's every year there's great players who go from team to team. There's lots of teams who are offloading talent because now they suck and they're looking to move some contracts around. It's like you get creative, you find some players. There's lots of other players out there.
Okay, so let's
Ryan, TJ Brody may be the best UFA defenseman available this year. Not quite.
So
Noah
you
Hannafin
you trade for a guy who has 2 years left on his deal.
Trade
like,
what? Matthew Nyes?
Trade anything. Like
We have nothing.
You're thinking of it too simply. You're just like, who's the UFA and who only has 1 year left on their deal, because that's what usually happens. But you could do other stuff than that. I don't have a list of names. Sorry, I didn't do my homework.
Okay, moving the conversation along a bit. We're still on Nylander though, but we were talking about this yesterday after the deal got done. That like this amount of money and this amount of commitment by the Leafs tells me that in their hierarchy of important guys that we're keeping around, Austin Matthews is now number 1, and William Nylander is now number 2. Where it used to feel like Austin Matthews is number 1 and Mitch Marner is number 2. And it's not to say that Mitch Marner's game has fallen off of a cliff, but it kind of feels like by doing this, like the Leafs can't possibly sign Mitch Marner to an even bigger deal, or
they are
maybe
Steven.
Something like that.
They
or,
are going to.
I'm saying, and John Tavares or something. Like, can the Leafs continue to keep doing this, or does this essentially mean that maybe the Leafs decide, like you're talking about, you'd love to have the money from a Nylander and have these other pieces? Well, maybe it's not Nylander's money, it's John Tavares' money or Mitch Marner's money. What do you guys think the Leafs' 5-year plan is right now? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Tavares is in a totally different conversation because he's the other side of it, right? Like his next contract's going to be less. So for him, it really depends on how much less.
Maybe.
That it's going to be. Well, it's not going up. What do you think? He's going to make $12 million?
I said it in the chat, and I challenge the listeners as well that you got to find me the team captain that signed the big money contract and then took significantly less to stick around with that same team. I don't know. I don't know who's done that.
Hold on, but I'm not saying he's going to take a home team discount and sign for $2 million. I'm just saying it's going to be less than the $11 million he's making right now. Like, if you want to look at what fair market value, if you were re-signing Tavares today, it's probably something close to like $6 or $7 million. And maybe he signs for $8 million, which is more than that, but it's still less. So he's going downhill. It's Marner, that's the other one where it's like he's going to want to raise. He's going to say, pay me like Matthews. He's probably going to say, I'm not signing after this year because this is a down year. I'm going to wait and I'm going to sign halfway through the season like Willy. He's probably going to be playing with Matthews and have 100 points by April, and we're going to sign him to like $12.5 million. It's very obvious to me that that's the projection we're going down.
So then that only works if John Tavares, I feel like, actually does take that hometown discount. I don't know that that's happening. If there ever was
what's
a guy,
hometown discount? What is this number in your head that is John Tavares takes a hometown discount?
Like $7 million.
I think that's what he's going to get because that's fair.
I'm saying,
second line center.
I'm saying that's fair.
He's gonna take his 3 kids to Arizona over $1 million after he's just gotten $100 million.
Again. He's the perfect candidate of a guy to do it if I've ever seen one, right? He's back home. He became the captain of his team. He's got the family here. But find me the example of the guy that did that signed for the lesser amount of money. Where is Jonathan Taves right now?
He retired. Like, what do you want?
Where is Steven Stamkos going to be in a year?
Oh, he'll stay in Tampa. Are you kidding me?
What do you think? Are you kidding me? It does not sound like he's going to stay in Tampa.
I think he'll stay in Tampa.
He wants that money, and they're not gonna. It doesn't sound like they want to give it to him. I don't see that happening. I don't see. Okay, I guess.
Steven,
I see it happening because there's a lot of.
Went the trajectory that you're looking for.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
you keep talking about examples.
I do not want to talk about Boston right now. I don't even bring them up anymore on the podcast.
2-1.
That we're not talking about Boston. They obviously know this contract stuff different than us. I'm saying, like, I'd love for it to happen, and maybe it does, but in NHL history, it doesn't happen.
I mean, you're not wrong. Clearly, the Leafs don't know how to negotiate a contract, so you do have a point there, Steven.
So I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so I guess you guys are both saying that, like, yes, the Leafs will just continue to keep a bunch of high-paid guys, and John Tavares is going to get a big deal, and Mitch Marner is going to get a big deal.
Well, here's the thing, Steven.
Everyone's retiring as a Maple Leaf.
Mitch Marner and John Tavares, from right now until their contract expires, both have full no-trade clause. Like, it's not like a 10-team thing. It's not like we want to be fair to the players. They have full no trade. So if they don't want to go anywhere, they're not going anywhere, and they could walk for free if they want to in UFA, but we're not going to let them do that. We're going to sign them both to an extension.
I feel like, Tim,
it
Ryan...
might not be good for the Maple Leafs, like Tim indicated. Like, we're going to have, like, 82% of our cap taken up by 4 players still, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Tim, I feel like Ryan and I were coming after you for your comments earlier about, like, being fair, and then you and Ryan were just coming after me about my comments about John Tavares. I feel like Ryan's just kind of in the middle. He's sitting on the fence. He hasn't decided if this contract's even good or not. I think we both need to come after Ryan for some hot take that he has.
I only have correct takes. So
Ryan wants to pull a Vancouver Canucks and overpay all the third liners that are going to take him to the promised land. So, like, have fun with that.
We have the top end talent. We have Tim. Our decor sucks, man. Like, we have Morgan Riley, who's great.
Besmirch Timothy Liljegren.
No one else who's there. I don't even know what is Liljegren peaked. Is he like what he is right now?
No,
which is like
23 or something.
No, he's older. I think he's 24. Either way, we have Giordano, who's old. We have Brody, who's old. Riley's only getting older. Like, it's not good. And the goalies don't even. We'll get talked about the goalies after, but I still don't like our goaltending.
Okay, I guess we've been going on William Nylander for a while. I mean, he deserves it. He's been on the team for a long time. But any final William Nylander thoughts before we move on with the podcast? Ryan,
I guess my final thing I'd like to say is I know I threw a lot of shade through this William Nylander discussion here, but most of that goes towards Brad Treliving and his inability to say no when Nylander asks for the moon. I am happy that Nylander's still going to be on his team because that guy is fun to watch. Like, all these guys, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, they make for some entertaining hockey, and I'm glad we get 8 more years of watching Nylander work.
How about some entertaining hockey tonight? The Leafs just absolutely, we're going to say, shellacked the Sharks for the second time in a row. Just let them die, Toronto Maple Leafs. Just let them die.
I don't know who that first overall pick is, but the Sharks are still trying hard their best on that lottery odds to get him.
Macklin Celebrini is the first overall. It kind of sounds like a fish, like a shark. Macklin to San Jose.
We'll see.
Speaking of the Maple Leafs and the team and scoring goals and playing well, so Austin Matthews just notched his 31st goal of the season in 36 games. He's on pace for his best goal-scoring season forever in his career, and I believe he now holds the highest goals per game average in the NHL career over Alex Ovechkin. He's reached that level. Pretty good. I didn't have any other thought.
No, yeah, that's pretty.
Is he good? Yes or no?
Real good. That third liner, David Camp. Like, pay that guy $5 million.
Calm down.
That's pretty good. I mean, so you look at his deal. He's getting paid $13 million. The better Austin Matthews does is just the best because it will just further separate him from Mitch Marner and might help future the contract negotiation.
I don't know.
The NHL hard cap has done for us. We've all become accountants. Welcome to my world.
Well, I can't wait for that. And when we talk about all these like deals in the future, the cap could go up like crazy every year. Maybe that happens. I mean, it goes up like $15-20 million every year in the NFL. Like, let's just keep it going up. I don't know. Bettman's got to keep doing his job. Open up a couple more teams. We'll get the salary cap.
Give us what you want to see, the full jersey ads, just the billboards. If it means the cap goes up an extra $1 million.
Before we signed this deal, did anyone 100% confirm there's no more pandemics going on?
No
what's
one
going
sneeze. No, it's pretty impressive what Austin Matthews is doing here. It feels weird because he started the season so hot, and then right when Nylander decided to explode around that Sweden trip, he really kind of disappeared, and he kind of showed shades of last year Matthews, which was still very good, but it was nowhere near what his projections are now. And over the last month or maybe 2 months even, he's just like dialed it up again, and it's unbelievable what he does here. And you could really see it over this California road trip +1 of San Jose this past night, where he just like these bad teams don't even have an answer for him. He just gets the puck and does whatever he wants out there, and he brings it to not even a good spot. Like that goal he scored this 7-1 game for San Jose, like that wasn't a good shooting spot. He's like way off against the boards, like almost at the goal line, and just like roofs it at the top shelf. It's pretty impressive what he's putting together here this year.
Yeah, he's back to that level where it doesn't look like he's trying, like he's otherworldly a little bit. Like he just like drops his stick to the ice, and you're right, it just goes bar down in the teeniest little sliver that was left there wide open. Like that's crazy.
And him and Marner look like they have some good chemistry going again. Like it looks like it did a couple years ago in that Hart Trophy year. And I know Marner had a couple goals tonight, but even just like the playmaking, they're finding each other again. They make it look like a video game out there. Maybe it's recency bias because we played so many bad teams recently, but it's nice to see that duo returning to form. Tim's famous 80-goal line comes to mind. So
I'm just glad that we're like the regression is actually helping us, and we're like improving our record against these terrible teams. Because for a while it was like, we're facing Ottawa at the bottom of the standings. Chalk up the L. Skip this game.
Well, it's I mean, you say Tim, 80 goals is what he wants. I mean, Austin Matthews is on pace for well over 70 right now. 50 and 50 is not completely out of reach if he can get some more 2-goal games. And it is crazy because we're talking about a potential 50 and 50, and Ryan, you're talking about that like cold stretch he had there. I think it was like 1 goal in 7 games he had at one point. And yeah, I don't know. I just love to see it. I mean, when he's cooking, the Leafs are cooking, and he's cooking. I think tonight was the 90th time that Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner have scored in the same game. So, speaking of scoring goals in games, Nicholas Robertson. Hang on, let me find the Nicky Rob drop. Just kidding, I don't have one. Just kidding, I do. You'll get it later.
Because he's been scratched.
So he was scratched on the California road trip in favor of Pontus Holmberg on the third line. And what do you guys think of that?
I didn't mind it. So Keefe actually had a quote fairly recently that basically said, like, Robertson's proved he can stay in the NHL, but what he hasn't done is like set himself apart from the other guys. And I thought that was fairly accurate in that, like, he's stayed healthy, which has been probably the biggest question mark he has answered. I think he's played like 25 games or so. And he's had flashes of showing like that energy or such, but hasn't screamed, put me in the top 6. Not to say that Holmberg has as well, but I think just balancing between, like, I like this idea of cycling out these bottom guys, have a little more competition. Not to say you change them out every game, just want to let the guys get in a rhythm, but you want to keep people hungry for those spots.
But it's not even like he's not screaming, put me in the top 6. It's like, can you be an effective third-line player? And the answer this season has been, well, the best he's been able to provide is when he's on a line with Max Domi as third-line center, and they're able to get a little something going sometimes. but that line is so porous defensively that it ends up being like a net zero or even a net negative, because anything that they give you offensively, they're giving back in just like a neutral zone turnover. And you could tell that Keefe hates that because of their ice time. Like, Domi's at like, I think 10 minutes a night, and Robertson's below that. That's not third line minutes, that's fourth line minutes. So it's like, it makes me think of what Keefe values in his players is Yarncrook, right? Someone who is like, I can put this guy out there with anyone in any situation. I know what he's going to give me. He's not going to burn me. He's going to get the puck into the other end of the ice, maybe score a goal or two, and just turn the tide the other way. You can't, or Klingberg, or all these other players that our GM is bringing in, and it makes me wonder if maybe there's a disconnect between what Brad Treliving sees for this team and what Sheldon Keefe sees for this team. And Sheldon Keefe is not Treliving's GM. I know that Treliving extended him, but he didn't sign him in the first place, and he extended him before he even saw him play or they even worked together. So it makes me wonder, like, Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe, they were such a pair. But I think that if Brad Treliving had the choice right now, like, hey, it's the draft, and do I want to draft Nick Robertson onto this team? I don't think Sheldon Keefe would be saying, yeah, that's a player I want. Sheldon Keefe would be saying, I want a different player. But that's the kind of player that Brad decided to bring in this offseason. Very offense, not a lot of defense, kind of one-trick pony. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like Keefe's fit, and I don't know where his place is going to be with the Maple Leafs moving forward.
Well, I mean, there was just like rumblings that could be that they're maybe considering moving him, right? Or like seeing what the team looks like without him, and if that's an option, because I don't know what his like trade value is anymore, because it's just been so long since it was like Nicky Rob mania. But I don't know. I kind of think it's the wrong decision to take him out, unless it was like literally to light a fire under his pants, because like obviously they set him out for 3 games. He scores a goal tonight, and I think tonight was his first game back. So, you know, maybe it worked. But like when you replace him then with Pontus Holmberg, where you talk about like where's Nicky Rob going to slot in the lineup, like we know that Pontus Holmberg will probably never be a top 6 kind of guy.
Yes.
So when you're bringing him into that bottom 6, like you're slowing down the development of Nicky Rob, who again is still a very young guy, and I didn't like the decision, I guess, by Keefe.
Yeah. I completely agree, Stephen, because here's the thing. Like, he's played so few games. Like, he has such little experience, not just in the NHL, but in the AHL too. Like, he's been injured so much. And you have to think that just the more he plays, the more he'll be able to, like, read the ice and read the plays and know when not to make that pinch and when just to get the puck deep and get off and not try to make a play in the neutral zone. Like, those are things that experience teaches you. And he does have that upside to get there, to maybe be in the top 6. And we don't have anyone else coming. Like, we don't have a lot. Right. Like, it's Bobby McMahon. Like, that's who we have in the... I know he's your favorite player, Stephen.
Fraser Minton. He had like 2 points at the World Juniors.
Ryan Reeves is almost healthy again.
Oh my goodness. Like, I think that players like that have value for us in the future, but I don't think he's getting much sitting out. Like, unless if it's for one game to make a statement, I guess. Like, we saw that with Camp, but
that was in his home. He's from California. I don't know where in California, but he's from California. They sat him at home. I was sitting there like, shoot, they're sitting him at home. And I was like, oh wait, no, that's Trevor Moore. Trevor Moore is the one from California. And then I was like, looked it up. No, wait, it's also Nicky Rob. Big Trevor Moore drop on the podcast.
Oh, we were Trevor Moore fans.
Oh, if he was on the Leafs, he'd be getting $11.5 million for sure. Okay.
Full no trade.
Anything else on Nicky Rob from the group? So, goaltending.
Noah Gregor is the real 4th line story. So it's just whoever has the best chemistry with Noah Gregor.
It's true.
No, are we talking about the random $1 million fill-in guys? Can we talk about Simon Benoit, my actual new favorite Maple Leafs player?
Ever since that LA game?
And I feel bad because I think the last time we were on this pod, I was talking about how, like, well, I kind of like the game that Laguson's giving us, and Benoit's been fine. Benoit is now, he's my favorite Maple Leaf, I think. The effort this guy plays with, he's out there punishing. He has played as of tonight, 23 games on the Maple Leafs, and he has, He has a point. Never mind. He got a point. He didn't have a point until tonight. It was 22 games, 0 points. I commented that on a Facebook or on an Instagram post and got absolutely railed. But anyway, he and then tonight he takes the high stick, gets the double minor, which results in 2 goals for the Leafs. But he's bleeding like a faucet from his nose and still comes back out there all stuffed up, and I guess he got a friggin' point. Simon Benoit is my guy. Officially, he's my guy. Nobody else can have him.
All right, you can have him and Bobby McMahon. They're your boys.
No, I don't want Bobby McMahon. I want that really handsome guy we had in our 4th line from a couple years ago.
Blackwell.
Colin Blackwell. And
Colin Blackwell.
Tim, you said you're applying for Noah Gregor as your guy?
I'd take Noah Gregor as my guy.
Okay, Ryan.
Bobby Hastings.
Bobby
Who?
Hastings.
You don't know Bobby Hastings, Steven?
What was he in, like,
You gotta
grade
catch
8
up on
math
your league
class?
blueprint.
Who's Bobby Hastings?
He's their equipment manager. Come on.
Settle down. Tim, did you actually know who Bobby Hastings was?
Absolutely. You remember? They showed that clip like 500 times of him
with the
passing
fingers?
stick over the thing as Marner
You guys are nerds.
ripped up the ice. And...
All right, let's get into goaltending, Steven.
Well, so I got a couple of thoughts, but I guess to recap for the listeners here, I don't know if Wall was out the last time we potted. It had been a while, but Wall was gone, injury. Yeah, no, that we definitely talked about that the last time that we potted. But Martin Jones has stepped in. He's played like 100 games in a row, and he's looked really good. He's looked really good.
He's looked like vintage Martin Jones. It's funny. I think yes, because it was last time, and we were all, and I had no faith in Martin Jones because I thought he was like 38 years old. Turns out he's 32 or 33.
33.
33. Still has life in him. No, he's been really impressed. Like I remember, right after, like soon after the injury happened, and the analysts were talking like, "Oh, who's going to play more games this season? Is it going to be Joseph Wall or Ilya Samsonov?" And I scoffed. I thought like, "No, Samsonov will come back. He'll bounce. Martin Jones is just an also ran. He's a Calvin Pickard. He's done." And then Samsonov, nothing. Like no bounce back, no signs of life at all. Sent him down the minors. I guess we'll see what happens. Like maybe he'll pull a Jack Campbell. Like, he has not actually playing for the Marlies, but like
He
maybe
practiced with them,
and he's done.
so
But
it sounds
Martin
like he
Jones has been like one of the most impressive goalies in the league over the past few months. I saw a stat somewhere that said like at least one of the top teams in the league for goaltending stats when you take out Samsonov's starts, which is crazy considering we have about $1 million. We have like William Nylander's rounding error allocated to our goaltenders.
There was, if there's one aspect of Kyle Dubas's tenure here with Toronto that was an absolute disaster, it was goaltending. You know, you have Garrett Sparks, you have Matt Murray, you know, it's just like the list goes on of these just like horrible. Was Hutchinson with Dubas as well? Yeah, Hutchinson as well.
Yeah.
So like it was just like a never-ending carousel of horribleness and goal. And the one thing that he got right was Jack Campbell, but turns out he's not very good either. He just kind of had he drank Michael Jordan's special sauce or whatever that stuff was called in Space Jam. The secret stuff. Is that what it was? Anyway,
Mike's secret stuff. I think
that's what it was. The one thing that Brad Treliving has done well since getting to the Maple Leafs is signing Martin Jones. That is the best signing that he made. Because I remember when it happened, and I was just thinking, like, this doesn't matter. He's our number 3. Like, this isn't even worth talking about because the number 3 never plays. He'll play like 5 games.
He gets waived.
And
he goes to Arizona.
He got waived, and we're all just like, he'll surely get picked up because Tampa literally did not have a goaltender. And he just stayed, and he got through, and now he's like the most important part of our team because Samsonov is just gone and probably never see him again. Wallace still going to be out for another like month. Hildeby, for whatever reason, is not playing. They just want to keep playing Wall, and Jones, and he has been very, very good since coming in. However, when this gets down to playoff time, are any of you comfortable with saying, you know what, we're going to go on a deep playoff run on the back of Martin Jones? Would you be? Would you say
Wall.
that that's a good? No. on the back of Martin Jones, just say like he's going to be our starter because Wall doesn't have it or he's injured again or whatever it is. Are you saying that you're going to say we can do this with Martin Jones? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, okay, if that was in that hypothetical situation, you're saying Wall's like on IR, he will not be available to us for playoffs.
Right.
No, we'd have to bring in somebody else as a backup.
Okay.
That's
so
not
then
Hill to be.
We already agree that like Jones is not the guy that we want to rely on for the playoffs. So let's look at Wall, who's literally the only other option that we have. He's played like no NHL games, incredibly small sample size, and was good in that sample that he played. But now he's going to be out for months with an ankle sprain. And who are you to say that he's not going to come back from that and just not have it anymore? And maybe he'll be great years down the line because he'll have a full off season again to prepare, and he's still young, so he's still going to get better. But this is a long injury that he's off for, and I don't think it's like even close to a hot take to say that Wall's going to come back and he's just not going to have it. Or at least he's not going to be nearly as good as he was before he got injured. That's a hard thing to come back from. So now all of a sudden you have Wall, who's coming back from this very long injury, who has a very short track record and like 2 playoff games experience under his belt, and Jones, who's like Tim just said it, he's 47 years old. Like, we can't rely on this guy. So our goaltending is not good. If we lose in the playoffs, it's going to be because of goaltending. Mark my words.
Here's the problem, though. There are about 3 goaltenders who are considered above average in the NHL. and all of them are not available. So like there are hardly any goaltenders in the league that I would literally pay more than a 5th round pick for. Let alone the salary. And so I think it is what it is. Like I've seen so many goalie trades pan out to nothing. They haven't. I don't know if it's the new system, new defense. The goalies are all crazy. Every single one.
David
of them.
Riddick, another Dubas pickup.
Dave.
I think Martin Jones is an example, though, of that goalies are all voodoo, because right now a little bit of what he's doing is voodoo. Like he was available to every other team in the NHL at one point this offseason, and twice. Could have been signed and then he was waived, and he was not picked up. I kind of feel like, though, Rye, what you're stressing about, like you need to relax a little bit. Like if the playoffs come around and Wall is not here, yes, we're going to get a backup or whatever, but like Wall's going to be the guy at that point, and he should be. Like I don't
Here's
see
the
us.
thing, though. Martin Jones might be the guy. Martin Jones, was the guy for like those San Jose peak years. Like looking at his stats,
good.
He's played
Like,
a lot of
7
playoff
years
games.
ago. What are you talking about, Tim?
He is
we just been over this.
33 years old. Here's the deal. Okay, Tim, this is the thing that we get to come after Ryan about. Listen, the over 30 club, okay? He's 33.
Well
That's
past
like,
his prime.
That's basically goalie prime, right, Tim?
Okay, so but if
When I
we're
think of, like,
gonna
Luongo-
be relying on Martin Jones here, why are we running him into the ground instead of playing Hill to be against the worst team in the league?
I don't know.
Like if you're gonna rely on this guy down the stretch, don't put him in his grave in January.
But again, you're talking about his grave like he's 40 years old and is falling like he's Gio. He's 33. Lundqvist was playing like 70 games a season until he was like 38. Same with Brodeur. I think Brodeur was 33 for 10 years. I think he's going to be fine. They're playing him a lot just for any goalie right now. But if if Jones is the guy, I'm doing the same thing. That's okay. I like right now, if we had to go into the playoffs, I would rather have Jones than this figurative guy that we're trading for, like Big Save Dave.
All I'm saying is that we have well below average goaltending, incredibly below average, arguably AHL defense, and half of our forwards car doesn't even enter our zone. They just wait at the middle for the puck to come to them. So we have we've got to have the worst defensive metrics as a team whole in the National Hockey League, and you guys are like, nah, it's fine. This guy's only 33, which is like 3 years past what your prime is in this NHL. Like he's down the hill.
So let me get this straight. Ryan wants to keep Willy Nylander, overpay for third liners, get defense, and bring in a Vezina winning goaltender.
I was the one saying we could do better with $11.5 million elsewhere. I'm saying that they could buy you, like, let's get Markstrom from Calgary. Like, that's an upgrade.
No
then you
way.
feel comfortable
Markstrom
with
is
that.
an anchor. Markstrom is how old is Markstrom?
Oh, you've got him Googling now, Ryan. Look, see what you did.
I actually don't know. He's not that old. Is
Markstrom is 33.
is he really? Wow.
He's
okay.
33.
I rescind the comment. I actually thought he was much younger than that. I rescind.
Tim, do you? Oh, geez, my lights just turned off because I go to bed, relatively soon because I'm not 33 yet. Hang on, turn these lights back on. Get those lights on. Anyway,
Well,
Ryan,
I'll tell.
You've got to stop besmirching the over 30 club. We're
like
all
it.
gonna be fine. All of us are gonna be fine. Give me a
Well,
break.
we'll see.
You know, goaltending voodoo, there's not enough good ones. Here's the deal. Going back to the World Juniors, right? Canada has all these great forwards, all these great defensemen that they're bringing in, but consistently, every single time, Canada does not have the best goaltenders at this tournament or in general. Feels like the era of the stud Canadian goaltender has been long gone. And we were even talking about the other day, if like they go back to the Olympics again, what's Canada going to do? It's time for you guys and myself to start breeding. That's right, start creating children and putting the pads on them.
Here's the thing, though.
Ripping
If
pucks.
you're good at hockey, if you have any sense, you're not being a goalie. You look at, like, goalies have 3 years of getting average money, and then they're horrible. You want to be a forward. So all the
Center.
good hockey players in Canada are all being forwards.
Specifically, Tim, a forward for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They just
absolutely.
hand out the money. They just hand out the money.
All about fair wages, Ryan. Fair
oh, my
wages.
goodness.
I really wanted to be a goalie growing up, and one year for like Christmas or something, I got like a street hockey goalie equipment kit or whatever. I think Grandma got it from Liquidation World or something. And get this, it came with the 2 leg pads and then 2 gloves.
It's interesting. No
So I'm
stick.
just saying-
blaming Liquidation World for the fact that you didn't become a goalie.
I'm saying that Canada could have been robbed of the next great Canadian goaltender because my goalie kit came with 2 gloves.
Well,
Although Ryan would have like cut me from his team because I'm over 30 now, so
I would.
I guess never mind. I couldn't have played, but
I've seen you in your back. You're all washed up.
oh my goodness.
All right, what do you guys want to see from the Leafs in the next week? We
play a
we
lot of
always
games.
Look at the Leafs and say we're never happy about them, and they keep winning.
I'm
We're in
really
a playoff
happy. They
spot.
scored 7 goals tonight against the Sharks.
Yeah,
and-
they let one in. What is that? Kick that goalie to the curb.
Some kid's first goal ever. It was funny when that happened. I kind of felt bad. I was like, "Oh, Jones let a goal in tonight," because he like never does anymore.
We play some real playoff teams coming up. We play like Detroit and I think Edmonton's coming up.
Colorado.
The Islanders, right? We played lots of playoff teams coming. We just had this
Islanders
like,
aren't a playoff team. They're washed up.
aren't they in the playoffs? I think they are.
Eh.
I think
Well,
they're in
that'll
the
be
playoffs.
a
Anyway,
test then for your boy Jones, right? You know, like, sure, maybe it's easy to beat up on the Sharks and Ducks in consecutive nights, but let's see you up against some really good teams here.
well, even just the Leafs in general, like they've also been very solid defensively around Jones. Like it's not just Jones standing on his head getting shutouts and only allowing 1 goal in. Like we've been shutting teams down, but like we have some really offensively talented teams. Islanders excluded from that list coming up here, and I want to see them keep doing it. Like we've just won 4 in a row. The team that's about to pass Boston for first in our division is Florida. They've won 8 in a row. Like, let's do
There's
that.
some crazy streaks around the NHL. Like, yeah, Florida won 8, Winnipeg won 7, LA lost 6, Seattle won 7, Edmonton won 8, San Jose lost 12.
You're welcome.
Well, that's coming off of like, didn't they lose their first like their first 15 or something like that?
It's not good.
Where's the Pistons? Did the Pistons win again since they played the Raptors?
It hurts.
Oh man. Hey Tim, ask again. What do you want to see from the Leafs this week?
Steven, what would you like to see from the
Dennis
Leafs?
Hildeby in net one night. That's what I want to see. The
Does this guy
6'7"
exist?
Swedish goaltender that was touted as the the savior. I'd like to see him play in net this week. That would be
That's
nice.
right. That would be nice.
Honestly don't think it's going to happen.
Sunday, January 14th against Detroit. Second night of the back-to-back against the division rival. They'll do it.
Okay. Are we wrapping up? I got one more thing.
All right, what do you got?
Well, I kind of felt bad. The last time that we potted, we did our World Juniors quiz, which you guys are roasting me for some reason. Sorry for trying around here, guys. Anyway, I said whoever won could talk about whatever they wanted for like a couple minutes, and Tim won. We never did that, so Tim, enjoy the next 2 minutes to talk about whatever you want.
2 minutes.
All right, we're gonna talk about
The Taylor Swift concert, Tim. What'd you think?
the Eras tour. Rather impressive choreography, top notch. Taylor Swift's endurance go 3 hours. I tell her she should be our conditioning coach.
There you go.
Whoever
Hot take.
I mean,
Whoever she is working with her could work with the Leafs.
She did a couple nights at the Scotiabank Arena. Like she might have made more money than William Nylander did in those 2 nights. Honestly,
I believe it.
Tim, you're only at 30 seconds.
Oh. I just treat the whole podcast about things that I want to talk about. You guys are just along for the ride.
That's fair.
You worked really hard in that, and you're just mailing it in at 44 seconds of.
I'll take a rain check. Next time you go off on something I don't care about, I'll say, Steven, nope, my turn to talk.
All right, Tim, we owe you 1 minute and 10 seconds of time, and you get to catch it in whenever.
Put it in the
Make
mail.
a note.
Maybe
Right.
I'm gonna create a quiz of things that Steven knows nothing about.
Facial hair.
Facial hair.
Excuse me?
Stash looking good.
All right.
Nobody actually says that, is it?
Oh, it's looking something.
Yeah, that's all I say is look at the stash.
The stream is low res, so there's a few pixels there.
All right, go Leafs, go. The Hildebeest. He's playing this
Two
week.
gloves, Hildebeest.